Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 31st, 2024. This is the Monroe Township Monthly Board of Education meeting. Can everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Allen, can we please have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Here.
Ms. Bora? No. Ms. DePayne?
Here.
Ms. Fabiano?
Here.
Dr. Peck?
Here.
Mr. Pirro?
Here.
Ms. Ratner?
Here.
Ms. Sharma? Yeah. Mr. Tufano? Okay. Mr. Zeichner?
Here.
Yes, we have a quorum.
Thank you.
Okay. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published and electronic notice provided by having the date, time, and place thereof posted May 10th, 2024 and July 26th, 2024 at all schools on the district website, Home News Tribune, Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is our closed session resolution. Whereas the Senator Byron and Bear Open Public Meetings Act NJSA 10:4-6 provides that Monroe Township Board of Education may hold an executive session from which the public is excluded to discuss matters that are confidential or are one of the 9 subject matters listed in Section 12B of the Act. And whereas the board hereby declares that its discussion of the following subjects will be made public at a time when the public's interest in disclosure is greater than any privacy or governmental interest being protected from disclosure. Now therefore be it resolved by the Monroe Township Board of Education that the board shall go into executive session to discuss the following items. Additional items may be determined and announced as needed. Matters concerning the protection of the safety or property of the public pending or anticipated litigation and matters covered by the attorney-client privilege. Matters involving employees and their terms of employment and contract possible imposition of a civil penalty or suspension, NTEA Level 3 grievance, confidential personnel matters, and a HIB investigation involving students. Be it further resolved that said discussion may be disclosed to the public when reasons for discussing and acting upon it in closed session no longer exist. Action may be taken on any of the items stated above. May I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
We'll be in closed session for 1 hour and we'll return at 7:15.
Too much, Katie.
We're going to start. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. The first one to approve is the Public Board of Education meeting minutes from June 12th, 2024. I have a motion.
Motion. Second.
Second.
Are there any abstentions or recusals? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's very great reaction. All those opposed? Oh, Mr. Hero, we were voting on the Public Board of Education meeting minutes from June 12th. Do you
Okay.
approve those minutes?
That's fine.
The next item on the minutes is the closed session meeting minutes from June 12th, 2024. Have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Any abstentions or recusals? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the next item on our agenda is our committee reports. Are there any committee members wishing to give a report? Ms. Payne?
Yes, let me find it. Somebody else want to go while I look for it?
Sure, I can give the finance report.
Thanks.
So, Ms. Bora is not here, and Ms. Sharma has no voice, so I'm going to read the finance committee meeting minutes from July 24th.
Oh.
The board members in attendance were Isabella Bora, Keith Piro, Lucia Sharma, and Katie Fabiano. Administrators, Dr. Chamley and Ms. Allen. The committee reviewed the bill list, which at the time of the meeting was approximately $13.8 million. The attorney invoice for the month of May for Forzio and June for Bush Law Group were then reviewed. Next item on the agenda was the annual contract renewals. Ms. Allen walked us through the various contracts that were up for renewal and any changes in them. Notable changes were as follows. The Heartland School Solutions contract for the cafeteria software went up by 6.5%. All-Star Athletic Center rental for cheer practice went up by $10 per hour. Cure Insurance arena rental contract for graduation increased by $1,000 from last year to a total of $16,000 for 2025 graduation. I urge the public to watch the meeting for a detailed list of other service contracts that were also recommended for approval by the committee, which are used as needed. The business administrator recommended we go back to Samuel Klein as the auditor for the district at a cost of $54,000, which is lower than what was paid to the auditor last year. This change was a result of committee members expressing their concerns with the quality of the audit presentations last year. Next, we discussed the bids for lease purchase agreement for $2.2 million as approved in the last meeting. There were 4 bids that came in, which was much more than what we usually get. On the agenda tonight is the winning bid of 4.16% for a 5th-year term with Webster Bank of New York. The transportation bid was discussed next. There was only 1 bid by Don Francis, which is the same provider as last year with a different name. The hourly rates are the same, but there is an increase in para rates. We use this service for field trips and athletic busing. The committee was then informed that we have 6 buses that have aged out, and the business office is looking for approval to sell them on Gov Deals. There was a discussion on how many buses were being bought as we put up 6 for sale. Committee was informed that 2 minivans as part of the lease purchase will be added to the fleet this year, and that we will meet current district requirement. The sale of 6 buses is on the agenda for approval. Last item on the agenda was a discussion on the bid received for the mandated external energy audit service group for the ESIP program. There was only 1 bidder, Tri-State Light and Energy, for $97,000. The district has the option to do this through the state, but that would take much longer and would delay any benefits we may see in terms of cost savings. This bid is also up for approval tonight. This concludes the Finance Committee report for July. Are there any questions? Okay, are there any other committees wishing to give a report? Mr. Payne.
Yes, I found it, thank you. The Citizens Advisory Committee met on Tuesday, July 23rd. Those present were Dr. Chanley, Mr. Moraldo, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Alvarez, and Ms. Ratner. We basically, at the time of the meeting, finalized the letter and the application that will be on our website, and I just spoke to Mr. Moraldo. They're tweaking the website right now. So hopefully by September 1st, that information will be on our website for the residents to go on and look up, fill out the application if they are interested in becoming a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee. It was decided that the application should be in by September 15th. If you are one of the residents selected, you will be notified by September 30th, 2024, that you will be part of the committee. The first meeting of the Citizens Advisory Committee will be on October 8th, 2024. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Payne? No, I'm very excited to open up our application process and for our letter to be sent out so we can get the committee up and running.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Any other committees wishing to give a report? Ms.
Hi, I'm
Alvarez?
going to be doing the curriculum report for Ms. Bora, who's not here today. Okay, board members in attendance were Gonzala Bora, Carmen Alvarez, Charles Zeichner, and Katie Fabiano. The committee meeting started with a detailed overview of the extended school year program that was at a halfway mark at the time of the discussion. The program has a participation of 232 students this year, with 57 being housed in the high school. Mr. Arcaro gave a shout out to the outstanding staff for the success with this program. He also informed the committee of the community involvement with the fire department, already having paid a visit, and upcoming visits from the police department, the bookmobile, and even an ice cream truck. He updated the committee about the collaboration between the ESY and the summer enrichment program, which allows our ESY students to benefit from the STEM, cooking, and music summer programs. Mr. Moralda shared details of what this collaboration looks like today and his vision of how he sees this growing in the future. Next item on the agenda was the exciting update on growing college acceleration program given by Dr. Higgins. He shared that Kean University has accepted 2 of our courses for their dual enrollment. Both are computer courses, AP Comp Sci Principles and Advanced Web Design class. Students taking these classes in Monroe will have the ability to sign up for dual enrollment with Kean University, which will allow them to earn college credits for taking these classes with us at a very reasonable cost of $100 per credit. Dr. Higgins and the supervisors team at the high school are working diligently to increase the dual credit partnership with colleges and at this time, there are 8 classes that students can earn dual credits for. I urge parents and students to learn more about this by speaking to guidance counselors and to take advantage of this opportunity at the high school. Next on the agenda was an update by Mr. Moralda on the summer enrichment program. We have an exciting offering of summer camps in robotics, Lego League, theater, music, cooking, coding for all ages. Mr. Moralda was excited to share that a high school enrichment program that has been in the works for some time may finally see the light of day as a result of a donation from the Monroe Education Foundation to launch a pilot for this program this summer. This donation, which is up for approval tonight, would help pay for all staffing and supplies to run a pilot for an SAT prep course for students registered for the August 24th SAT. This pilot will be limited to 2 batches of 20 students. Based on how this pilot goes, the ultimate goal is to start this as a regular paid enrichment program to help improve SAT scores in the district. Please watch the meeting for the entire discussion. If the donation is approved tonight, Mr. Moralda's team will move quickly to open registration for this first batch, releasing details of proposed dates and timings. The first pilot will be free of cost to students participating, so stay tuned for the update. Next, Dr. Roselle presented the Spanish 4 document updates to the committee. The approach is more content and culture-based in this document, and the updates were made to be aligned to the mandates from the state standards that came out in 2020. She mentioned these updates will help align our courses to be accepted for dual enrollment in the future as well. She also highlighted how things like climate change have been included in the course update in a way to focus on impacts of climate change on a Spanish country or culture. The committee then discussed some contracts that were up for renewal. Notable were Turnitin. This is a feedback tool that is up for renewal for $15,000. Dr. Roselle shared all the aspects of this tool. We had an interesting discussion on the AI usage by our students and how to find parity in governance. Committee acknowledged the challenges being faced by our educators and our students in the fast-paced world of AI tools for anything and everything. Dr. Chanley shared how the district staff is prioritizing their own professional development on this topic and how we need to quickly put in place guidance as well as policies for student and staff. Handle with care. The Pupil Personnel Services team shared that they recommend transitioning to Handle with Care as a behavior management system. The previous contract was with CPI, and this new contract enables us to train 10 people in the district as trainers instead of 1 in the district at a comparable cost, and is the need at a comparable cost as needed. Center for Wellness. This is a new contract being recommended by the Pupil Personnel Services team to address the growing problem of students that are going through issues with anxiety that is holding them back from coming to school. This contract will fall under the MTSS program and will be grant funded. Naviance renewal was discussed, and there was a concern on the count of students covered in the contract, which stayed at 685. Dr. Roselle believed that maybe the count of seniors, which is the paid part of the tool. Lastly, Edgenuity was discussed, which was a new contract, Title III funded and used to help multi-language learners through course completion. This recommendation has come from the 3-year ELL plan discussed and approved last month. 20 licenses are being covered through this contract. That concludes the Curriculum Committee report. Any questions?
Thank you for that very comprehensive review of the curriculum meeting.
Ms. Bora
Ms. Ratner?
emailed that to us.
Yes, so I had 2 questions. My first was just regarding the dual enrollment courses. I had heard that, our ultimate goal is to eventually allow students to obtain an associate's degree, which we've seen in other school districts. Is that something, I know because we're working with multiple universities as well on providing these courses, would that be something, because we are working with so many universities, that they would be able to be combined, or is that something that would be a separate program with one university? I see Dr. Lehman shaking his head at me. So.
Yeah, so I would say our goal is to increase dual enrollment opportunities. I think In some districts, you see historical partnerships that are grandfathered in. What we've noticed in the past several years as we expand our partnerships is the threshold and expectations on the districts in terms of qualifications of our staff have to meet a different threshold than they did, say, 15 or 20 years ago at the college level. So what we've been doing is taking just about every single course that we can and sharing it with anyone that's interested in partnering with us. As a part of that process, they're looking at resumes or CVs of our staff members, as well as curriculum documents. Most times, our curriculum documents are fine. Many times, it's the staff resumes and CVs aren't at the same threshold in which their collegiate professors, and it's, again, each university screens things within their own departments. So you may be in one college, and the math department has a certain threshold, and the business department has another one. So I'll give you an example. We had a longstanding partnership with a university. Their new threshold for a business teacher is that they have an MBA. So when we hire a business teacher, it's nice if they have an MBA. That certainly is something that we would support and we would like, but that's not a mandatory requirement for public high school and public education to have an MBA. We certainly consider those things, and when replacing staff members and maintaining partnerships, we look at that. But ultimately, we're filling slots here with highly qualified candidates, and just because you have an MBA doesn't necessarily make that the reason for us to go down that road. So that's why you see some of the districts around here have had a partnership for 15, 20 years. Those are grandfathered in, and they have an extensive list. We've shared comparable, acceptable curriculum documents, and it really comes down to staffing at this point. And it has to do with raising the bar at the collegiate level in terms of what they're looking for. So we have other things that are Rowan is still reviewing. We shared I think between 20 and 30 classes at the end of our school year last year, and that's the time frame they asked them for. Each department is on summer break at different times, and they're going through a review process. So we happen to get these back first. Other ones have come back and said, well, staffing-wise, we're looking for a different expectation, and other departments haven't responded to us yet or responded to the university to get back to us. So you'll see things expand. We've also developed a relationship with the department at Rutgers University, and we're hoping this new relationship may provide a gateway into this department that we haven't had success partnering with before. But we're in a different position than we were, say, 15 or 20 years ago, where I think you had an opportunity to have many, many more classes with a different standard than there is now.
Okay, and
So-
I do think that it's been a noticeable increase in the amount of courses at the high school level that have been offered to our students. And so I commend the high school administration and your administration here for really working hard to make that available for our students. The other question I had was regarding AI, artificial intelligence, because I know that it was mentioned our staff is getting professional development, and that we'll likely need policies in the not so distant future, which has been a conversation at New Jersey school boards as well. Are we providing any information or guidance to our students about how to use it properly? Because I could tell you my 7-year-old probably knows how to use it better than I do, but I think learning how to use it as a tool and not as something to get around the rules is important, and I was just curious if we're doing anything with that in the schools.
You want me to start? You want to start?
We've got 2 first questions.
All right, so I can tell you in terms of the training we're offering now, so it's a exposure to and introduction to teachers using AI as a teachable tool, as an educational tool, but also as a professional tool, right? So it's kind of a introductory piece, and it's general enough that we speak about, times to use it, best practices in using it. There are like paid tools and things that, we may want to look into in the future as a district in terms of supporting, and when you pay for something, you can then kind of have, I want to say control or limit, you eliminate some of the variables that they may be exposed to unintentionally and things like that. And we can filter by grade level and things like that. So I would anticipate seeing that down the road.
Regulate is a good word.
Regulate, thank you, yes. We can regulate it, just like we regulate our internet access, right? In terms of what students have access to on our network and things. So that's where we're at in terms of exposure with the staff. Our expectation with staff, once we bring them up to speed, is with students sharing within an assignment where it may be an appropriate time or not an appropriate time based on the skills being taught or assessed. If you're looking at revising and editing something, maybe part of the skill would be using AI to generate the piece that you're going to revise or edit, right? But the skill you're teaching is the revising and editing, so you don't want to use AI to do that because we want to see if you know how to do that, right? Whereas there may be a time where you use it to revise and edit. Again, I'm not saying that's going to happen this year, but those are just examples of how we're going to have to use some nuanced approach with the use of AI. And we have things, for better for worse, on our own network pretty locked down. So in terms of exposure or slanted perspective and things like that, part of our instruction in language arts specifically, but anywhere, is multiple sources, validity of sources, accurate sources. This becomes another tool in which maybe you get information from or it generates information from, and you now have to apply that. And is this valid? Is this accurate? What are my other sources that can corroborate or validate that information? So that's kind of our approach. I know you just did a professional development on it, so if you want to add into it.
Sure. So I wanted to start out, during the curriculum committee, we also had a conversation, Dr. Roselle and myself. So what has happened is she already has a very good framework. We're going to be meeting within the next couple of weeks to discuss the framework from a leadership point of view so that we can see what it is we want to provide to our children. We have an acceptable use policy, of course, for technology, so we'll have an acceptable use policy, let's say, for AI. What I would like to bring out is that Strauss Esme just said the release of their actual policy, which is going to help us, which is great because they're a body, I won't use the word governing, but they're a resource body that provides the information of what's mandated, what's not mandated. So they're actually going to set us up for success. But working with Dr. Roselle and all of the parameters, I agree with you that we want children, because as I was going to talk about it in my superintendent's report, but I can talk about it now. So one of the conferences I just went to 2 weeks ago was a conference, and it was on artificial intelligence. It's the first conference that I've attended regarding it, and the summary of it, very similar to what Dr. Lehman just said, is it's here, it's staying. How do we make it a positive tool with guidance and parameters and regulation, thank you, that's an excellent word, and regulation so that they can use it properly and not it be a replacement for their work or a replacement for education or replacement for learning. So it was a lot of sessions. I went to as many as I could because once I felt I got enough, I went to the next session. And what was very interesting was I went to a session that was put on by one of the City University of New York colleges, and they were talking about how professors now at the college level are finding ways to vary the structure of the questions so that AI can only be a source. It cannot be their answer. The way you ask questions, we always talk about, Bloom's taxonomy, the level of questioning, and when you look at, or Costas if you do Avid, when you look at those two ways, there is an educational component that allows you to ask questions so it becomes application, not factual information. AI can write an introductory paragraph for you, but if you ask that in the introductory paragraph of the 5-paragraph essay, or the secondary body paragraph must utilize your opinion, your evaluation, your synthesis of the information, AI is not going to be able to do it for you. So that was one session. Another one was done by 2 different superintendents that came and talked about policy that they put into their handbooks, policy that was approved by the Board of Education. Strauss Esme did come up. And then another one was looking at the approach of helping children in a special education environment and perhaps in a basic skills environment where we used to use assistive technology. So we have a child who perhaps is non-communicative. They don't speak. So we look at technology, this is fantastic. We're not going to say, oh, it's a negative. They're speaking for them. They're speaking for them because they don't have a voice. So they were talking about how it will be able to assist children who perhaps have the cognitive skills but don't have the actual practical skills or the the sensory motor skills. So it was a very interesting take. It was the first conference I've been to. Dr. Roselle will definitely speak on it more. We could ask her to come to the curriculum committee because she has been to way more conferences than me. She seems to be a little bit of a guru, and she already said, I said, can we meet? What's your time frame? She's like, oh, Shari, we already have the framework. We're in such good shape. I think it's going to be great because we'll be able to take what makes us Monroe, which is what we always do with our documents, and then look at what Strauss Esme puts forward for the board to then adopt as their policy. So we feel we're in a good place with it. It's like, think about years ago when everybody got an iPad. How could you give every child an iPad? Are you going to lock them down when they're taking a test? How are you, it was the same concern. So AI should not be the answer to everything, but it shouldn't be ignored either. And if it's something that can help children and work with children, we should look at it as a resource, but know about our concerns. Similar, Turnitin was the same thing a long time ago. And then they came out with Grammarly, all these different things. So we are excited that we're moving in the right direction. In Monroe, we are usually ahead of the curve, and we are. So I will discuss it. I don't want to speak for Dr. Lehman because that's his area purview, or Dr. Roselle, but it's very realistic that in August there can be, if nothing else, a framework, and then for policy it would continue because I believe the policy will be out by then in details. So we'll be able to bring it forward to the board for approval.
Thank you.
And you're very welcome.
Any other questions? Any other committees wishing to give a report? Mr. Pirro?
I'd like to do the Building, Grounds, Transportation, Security Committee. We met on July 24th at 7 p.m. in the High School Media Center. Who attended the meeting? Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Alvarez, myself, Ms. Ratner, Ms. Bora, Ms. Chanley, and Mr. Tague. During that meeting, we discussed several things. One included a new contract for rebid the contract for snow removal. Instead of just renewing the same contract, we're going to rebid it. Administration will proceed accordingly once we receive the bids. ROG grant update. Administration provides an overview of the current construction status, indicating the work is ongoing with the 1936 building roof replacement, as well as the new building electric service. If you drove by the school recently, I went by today and they already started removing the roof on Applegar School, so the work is proceeding. The HVAC project for that bid is coming in weeks. Following thereafter will be bids remaining for the other roof sections, construction. And the way it's going to work is they're going to proceed to do most of the work in the summer months during the day. And once school starts, if work needs to be done, it'll be done on second shift after school hours. So Mr. Tague assured us it won't interfere with any type of learning or school atmosphere. Then he also advised us that we received a check. We got the Eric North grant for Brookside School. We received a check for $21,066. This grant will help for the stopgap construction projects at the Brookside Library. We're making additional classrooms there, small classrooms. So that construction should be all paid for by this grant we had just secured. We spoke about the Monroe Township Middle School nurse, relocating them to a special ed classroom, but we are going to hold off on that for now because the special ed classroom was created approximately a year or so ago, and it would probably be more beneficial and more cost efficient if we spoke with the nurses and maybe did some renovations to the nurse's office at the middle school. Our transportation overview. We're talked about electric buses. The Director of Transportation is going to do some research on it. Ms. McDonald wasn't at the meeting, but she sent me an email. As of September right now, we have 15 contracted buses for the high school. We'll have 11 contracted buses for the middle school, and those 11 will also split. 5 will go to Barclay and 6 will go to Oak Tree schools. So the way it looks now is we cannot secure enough bus drivers, even though we are adding 5 new hirees tonight. But the way it is, we're going to need to contract the buses to make sure we can get the kids to school. There's no need to purchase any new buses this year, but we do need to purchase 2 special education vans for the population growth in the district. That pretty much concludes my report.
Any questions? Okay, any other committees? Ms. Alvarez?
Yeah, I have 2 committee reports, personnel and policy. I'm going to start with personnel. The Personnel Committee met on Wednesday, July 24th. In attendance were Dr. Chanley, Mr. Piero, Mrs. Fabiano, Mrs. DePayne, and Mr. Weiss. There was a total of 9 resignations. 5 were general education teachers, 3 special education teachers, and 1 social worker. Of those, 4 accepted other positions. 1 was due to retirement. 3 did not indicate, and 1 resignation was listed as personal. The administration continues to work diligently to fill these positions, and 4 new bus drivers are on tonight's agenda for approval. The Director of Transportation position will be vacant following the retirement of the current director. That is on the agenda for tonight for approval. The job description was discussed in order to update certification requirements of the position and edit some of the previous language. Lastly, there was a discussion on the assignment of custodian of records in the Oprah process. Inconsistencies have been noted in how these requests are processed. Additionally, due to an influx of requests coupled with an increase in the registration responsibilities of the Oprah secretary, 10 Oprah requests were submitted to the board attorney for processing. This is an ongoing discussion. Any questions?
No? Okay. Do you want to do the
Okay.
next one?
Policy Committee. The Policy Committee met on Tuesday, June 23rd, 2024. Present at the meeting were Dr. Chanley, Mr. Tague, Mrs. Fabiano, Dr. Peck, Mr. Zeichner, and Mrs. Ratner. The meeting began with a discussion of the use of facilities policy. The fee schedule is reviewed annually. A discussion continued about implementing a surcharge for any event running past midnight. It would be a flat fee. The committee agreed this would be appropriate. There was a discussion on conducting a policy wellness check. This is a service provided through New Jersey school boards, which is included in our annual dues, and those are on the agenda today for approval as well. Essentially, the wellness check is an audit of our policy manual. There is a wait list for this very popular service with a 6 to 9 month processing time. The committee asked that this process be initiated. Lastly, 11 of the policies recommended for updating under Strauss-Esme Alert 233 were discussed. Most of the changes involved updated language. 2 policies, student suicide prevention and volunteer athletic coaches, were tabled to the August meeting in the interest of time. Policy 0164.6, remote public board meetings during a declared emergency, and policy 7231, gifts from vendors, are being recommended for abolishment. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for policy? We did just want to bring it to the board in Ms. Alvarez's report about bringing forth the wellness check. As we said, it is a free service, and Dr. Chanley agreed that we feel like it's a very beneficial process for us to go forward with, and we'll send out that email probably tomorrow to New Jersey School Board so that we can get that underway.
Yeah, it's a free service.
Ms. Ratner?
I like free. I have the Legislative Advocacy and Community Engagement Report. The Legislative Advocacy and Community Engagement Committee met on July 24th. Board of Education members present were myself, Ms. Devine, Ms. Sharma, Dr. Peck, and Ms. Fabiano. The district administrators in attendance were Dr. Chanley, Ms. Allen, and Mr. Maralda. In addition, we had our 3 state legislators representing Monroe Township present at the meeting: Senator Linda Greenstein, Assemblyman Wayne D'Angelo, and Assemblywoman Tennille McCoy. The meeting began with a discussion regarding state aid. We were pleased to learn that an additional $300,000 was awarded to our school district for capital projects. We reviewed a historical state aid chart for our district, as well as a comparison of overall state aid and equalization aid for Monroe compared to surrounding districts. This led into a discussion that while there has been improvement in aid since the enactment of the S2 legislation, there is still a lot to be done for Monroe to be in line with similar surrounding districts. Following this was a discussion about Bill A4003 S1986, which involves the creation of a school funding task force. An article regarding how funding is calculated was provided, and we explained that while Monroe may be getting what the formula suggests, a new formula is greatly needed, which reduces the local burden and takes into account a new definition of what a thorough and efficient education should be in 2024. The next agenda item were some of the specific challenges that Monroe is facing. We discussed the impact that overcrowding has had on our students and how it has reduced our ability to offer vital programs at all grade levels. As an example, full-day kindergarten. We explained that without this program, we have been unable to apply for grants such as preschool aid, which requires districts to have full-day kindergarten in order to be eligible for money towards preschool. A chart was provided for those in attendance that showed how Monroe is now just one of 8 school districts in the state without full-day kindergarten. There was a discussion about what Monroe would need in order to offer full-day kindergarten, as well as a suggestion that it would be helpful if the preschool aid grant could be used for kindergarten as well. There was also a discussion regarding impact fees and how it would be ideal if these could be modified to include schools, as well as the other services that are currently listed, such as roads and water supplies. Another item discussed was the challenges currently with the 2% cap. Our administrators explained how it is extremely difficult to maintain costs under the cap, particularly with increasing costs as well as inflation. There was a discussion of whether the cap could be modified or eliminated, as well as a discussion on 2 pieces of legislation that change the time frame regarding how districts go out to their voters to go above cap. There was also a brief discussion on the current transportation challenges that are currently affecting Monroe as well as other districts in the state. While we still have a lot of work to do, the meeting was a great step in making our legislators aware of the challenges and concerns that our school district is currently facing and what they can do at the state level to help us. I wanted to thank my fellow board members and community members for providing input on the topics that would be discussed at this meeting. I also would like to thank the district administration for working with the committee and putting together all of the information that was shared with our legislators. And then Mr. Meralda put it into this folder right here that was provided to each of the people in attendance. And finally, I would of course like to thank our legislators for coming that evening to hear about the challenges that Monroe is currently facing, as well as the members of the community who came in support of our school district.
Any questions? Mr. Tufano?
I commend you for getting Linda Greenstein here. That's been a very hard thing to do for decades, I think. What I'd like to see done, I'd like to see you recontact her and ask her to come and sit here in a chair and have the audience ask her questions, because it seems like when she does come here, she gives us the same rehearsed speech and no solutions to our problems. You know, Tennille McCoy and D'Angelo, they live in Hamilton. And Hamilton gets over $100 million in state aid. $100 million. We have 12. $100 million. And they say that the people here are rich in Monroe. We're very wealthy, and we should pay for our own children's education. Well, I don't know if any of you are rich, but I'm not rich, and I don't know a lot of senior citizens in our town that are not struggling right now to pay their property taxes, even with the break that they get. Yeah, who said I'm stupid? Who said that's stupid, what I just said? Anybody? You said it's stupid, what I just said? Yeah, it's stupid, what I just said? Yeah. It's not factual? No. No, okay.
They have our tax returns.
They have our tax returns. So the senior citizens in this town are complaining about their taxes because they make millions of dollars, correct?
This is
Anyway,
not
I don't
a
want to
public
engage the
debate.
public.
Thank you.
This is why Linda Greenstein should be here, so that people could ask those questions. I'm tired of people defending their party and not defending the people in this community. Linda Greenstein has done nothing to help this community. She knew she could write $1 million grants for us and didn't tell anybody about it. She did it once for us she could just have us shut up. It's appalling to me that we had her here and we protected her from the public being able to come here and ask her questions. Our job is not to protect the public officials. Our job is to protect the residents here and the children here, the students here. So the next time she's invited here, it should be for the community to come out and ask her questions.
So,
Can I respond?
sure.
So I think what we are hoping is that this is a stepping stone going
Great.
forward. So now that she has come here, I'm hoping that we are going to be able to maintain a dialogue with
That would be
her
great.
and Mr. D'Angelo and Ms. McCoy so that these types of conversations can continue. I can't guarantee the type of format that will be in, but I am hopeful that we will be able to continue these conversations in the positive direction that we're heading. I don't think anybody up here expected us to
And
get an extra 300 million.
my statement had nothing to
300,000.
do with the hard work you guys put in, setting the whole thing up, and how you ran it. I'm not saying anything bad about that. What I'm saying is, it's time for her to put her feet to the fire. We have to put her feet to the fire, because nothing's getting done, no changes are happening.
But I think in some ways you actually brought to light, our job is to advocate for our students. And while I understand that one way you feel that it would be helpful is to have residents speak to our legislators directly, I feel like as a board member, my role is to make them aware of what our challenges are and how we can fix those problems. I mean, I know you mentioned protecting party. I'm a registered independent. So
I didn't mean you specifically.
I just,
My
Right.
problem is, our job is to let them know what problems we have, correct? If they don't know what problems we have already, they're not doing their job. They're getting their townships over $100 million, and we're getting 12 million. If you can't see that your town needs 100 million, and our town could survive on 12, then you shouldn't be in the position you're in. We're suffering in this town. We're looking to make cuts at some point. We had to go above the cap, and we had to go out to our voters to vote to go over that cap, which should stay in place because that's the only way we're going to get the funding we need. And here they are, trancing around our township again, scot-free of responsibility. They know what the issues are here in Monroe. We've been telling them since I've been on the board, and nothing has changed. Nothing.
Mr. Payne?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to Ms. Ratner. It just dawned on me, being one of the two senior citizens sitting up here, and what Mr. Tufano said, I think it was Senator Greenstein or one of the Assembly people, said another reason why the task force is not good for Monroe is because of the uniqueness of Monroe with the amount of seniors that we have here. So that is something they said they were going to take back to the people and the legislation and tell them maybe the task force should look at the amount of seniors that are in a certain district. And that might, because I think right now the task force, what was put together 10 years ago, goes against us because of the senior
you
population.
mean the formula?
The formula, thank you.
Right.
Goes against the senior population, where they wanted, I think it was Senator Greenstein mentioned it that night. We didn't mention seniors, we didn't mention not getting the money. They did a lot of the dialogue themselves. And I think they know, because of the senior population, that task force has to go and study that also for districts like us. I don't know of any other districts in the state or this county or wherever they're representing have as many seniors as Monroe does.
Right, and I think that, you know, one thing that was really made aware to us is that in order for any legislation to pass, you have to have the support of multiple legislators. And while I feel truly for a lot of the districts that have had to deal with some of these severe cuts in the last several years, it's made a new funding formula a higher priority for a lot of other places that 8 years ago it wasn't. And so while we made them aware that, like, yes, we've gotten an increase, no, it's not enough, we need something that really gives us what we should have, as well as really just revamping it to what is currently going on in New Jersey. And that, hopefully, they said that the new school funding task force is a priority. I know we had heard about this before. I am hoping, because there is a lot of pressure in other districts now as well, that it will move forward. But all we can do is continue to ask. So.
Continue, and they also said, Senator Greenstein said, give them the information that they need, which we did that evening, and what other information we can provide to them so that they have it in front of them in order to present it to the fellow legislators up there and say, well, look, this is what Monroe gave us. You just can't go there and stand by the front door in Trenton and say, we need more money. You've got to have proof for them to present, like anything else, here. This is why we need more money. Monroe gave us a 25-page document, and I think Kate did a great job on the document with Mr. Moraldo, but I think everything has to be sent to them as we do it. So keep them abreast of what we need and what we do, do here.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes our committee reports. The next item on our agenda is public forum for agenda items only. If there are any members of the public wishing to speak, please come up and state your name and municipality for the record. You have 4 minutes to speak.
Hi, Meredith Alkenberg, 3 Castleberry Way. I just had a question for Ms. Fabiano from your business report regarding graduation next year. Stated about the increase in the fee for the curator. But I was under the impression that it was going to be at Rutgers next year.
So it was, yes. Dr. Chanley, do you want to explain?
So sadly, it's going back to the curator, not to say we didn't have a lovely graduation, which I will mention in my superintendent's report, but what happened was they increased. So we got excited. Dr. Higgins worked directly with the person, the liaison from the Rutgers, and I believe it's called the Jersey Mike's Arena. Mm-hmm. We were so excited because it's Middlesex County, it's Rutgers where a lot of our children go. We were keeping it in-house. It was fabulous. When we found out the cost, we couldn't believe what we heard. So I believe it would have been, and don't quote me, but I think Ms. Fabiano, we discussed it, $42,000. Is that correct? Am I correct?
Something like that.
Okay. So it would be $42,000. I could not justify the recommendation, and I understand the board members couldn't justify the expenditure. I will let you know that individual other schools who Dr. Higgins went ahead and contacted, because a couple of those principals of the high school used to work here years ago, and they increased they've been going there, let's say 3, 4, 5 years. They increased their cost by, what did they say, it was 45%? Does that sound right? Significant. And they didn't know. So, it's kind of like us with Cure Arena. We go there every year. So although we had booked the date, we were very excited. We made sure the calendar fit with our needs. I reached out to board leadership. Ms. Fabiano and I spoke. Ms. Alvarez, there's no way with the financial difficulties that we have, we could spend it, and you're absolutely right. I would like to let you know that I have asked Mr. Moraldo to reach out. If not, we try for this year. Perhaps there's something we can do. Perhaps there's something appropriate. Of course, we run it by our attorney. Perhaps we could help them if they were a sponsor and we could have their name on something. We don't know. We were very excited about having it here. And that is the reason why it is not here. Truly just financial, and not like 5,000. Even 5 or 10, we were like, okay, maybe we could find a way. It was
Like $30,000.
$30,000 difference. You can't justify that kind of spend. So that was the reason.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Good evening, Michelle Arminio, 9 Nathaniel Street. Are we not stopping the clock when somebody else talks?
No, the clock doesn't stop.
Not stopping anymore? Unfortunately. Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for all the work they're doing on a regular basis. It's the summertime, it's been very hot. Thank you all board members for all the things. Now I have to stop the accolades because I don't have time. Okay, so the next thing, I would like to say that there are aspects of Mr. Tufano's, his comments that I do believe are accurate. One of the things is that Greenstein has really not delivered to Monroe on a regular basis. So I do think that. And to Mr. Payne's comment about how we should provide things to our legislators, we have on a regular basis over the years with different board members, including myself, gone to meetings with Greenstein and the Department of Education. We have had them in our schools. We have constantly given them all of the documentation. So the fact that, and that's a refrain that I have also heard from Ms. Greenstein, that they need all our information and they want to be kept up and they want to be informed. I can tell you from my 9 years on the board, they are well informed about everything. We've had our own municipal leaders, we've had Board of Education members, we've had parents. We have been constantly going to the state for consideration, and more funds. So to say that their comments about us keeping them informed as if this is the first time they've ever discovered Monroe is inappropriate for them to even say it's disappointing. So while I don't always agree with Mr. Tefano's statements, he does have some valid points. So thank you. The last thing I'd like to say, I see that we have some little additional information when you're going into closed session, and you're getting a little bit more transparent. This board, I know, has a belief in transparency, so I applaud you again, and I thank you very much for the consideration, because after all, you are representing the public, and we appreciate knowing what's going on. It is our right as citizens, and in this climate overall in this country, I think that if we are the shining light of transparency and good government and democracy, I think it's great. So thank you all very, very much for all your considerations, and have a good rest of the summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dominic Torito. My children go to school in Monroe. I don't live here. I think Mr. Tefano kind of hit the nail on the head when he said that we get nothing. And Mr. Payne, you said that when you spoke with Greenstein, you didn't ask her for money. My question to you is, why not? First of all,
She just gave us 300,000.
300,000? I think there's a little disparity in 300,000 versus the 100 million and millions that others are getting. But also was mentioned about full-day kindergarten, which isn't offered here. However, earlier in the meeting, we were talking about college credits and offering college courses. Are we putting the cart before the horse here? Because I feel like maybe if we started at the bottom, at the base, I mean, you can't go to college without learning how to read. And I feel like most preschools, they offer full-day preschool, and then when my daughter, who is going to kindergarten, it's a step back. And we all know, especially in the summertime, how children regress with their learning. In September, they have to kick the rust off. Well, she's going to be kicking the rust off for an entire year, because she's going to go to school for about 5 minutes a day when the rest of the state is going all day long. And there's no answer.
No, I mean,
Oh,
sure.
okay.
I mean, well, I don't know what there was a question, but I know
I'll
like
just
full-day
comment.
kindergarten is definitely a
I heard that
discussion.
there's
Yeah.
only 8. There's only 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's taking so long? Is it money?
Yeah.
So
It's
I'll
money.
speak to the comment of comparing K to the college credits.
Okay.
So the partnerships that we're talking about, they don't cost the district anything. It's time that we put in just to send documents and look for agreements.
Okay, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah, I get it. I just wanted,
Yeah.
so it's not, it's, the kindergarten piece is a financial piece for us and a space piece. And, you know, it's certainly a priority of ours, and we're developing the strategic plan, so we should have a plan outlined in terms of getting there, you know, and I don't want to say in a year or two, but putting a plan in place to get us in that direction. From where we stand right now, there's a facilities construction piece that would be involved in bringing in full-day K, as well as the additional staff, which then goes on top of our current expenditures and things like that. So it's
My children most likely won't benefit from it, the timeline you're suggesting,
I would-
but it would be better for the entire community.
It's 100%, and that's why we say it's, I don't think any educator in the entire district, probably anyone sitting at this table, doesn't think that that would be beneficial. It really comes down to, and it could be a symptom of what we've gone through in terms of growth in the past 15 years, growing really quickly, squeezing the students into spaces, creating spaces in media centers for classrooms. Like, we've been doing that across the district. Many districts, if we were flatline enrollment, you know, ebb and flowing, we might be able to squeeze out additional space, minimal construction projects to add these extra sections. Right now, we're looking at potential, we have one of the primary schools that has every classroom filled, specials on a cart, and we would have to add probably 4 classrooms for full-day kindergarten. So that's a construction project of a minimum of 4 classes, where you're talking probably millions of dollars to head down that road. So our goal through the strategic plan is to get a process in place to get enrollment projections for the next 5 years, so we can see who's coming in at a kindergarten level projections, what construction projects are on the table. We'll look at the turnover in enrollment. Is there going to be natural attrition that we can grab some classrooms that are already existing, reallocate those to kindergarten, then put together a construction project that would give us the space net based off all the enrollment numbers. And once we have that, we can identify staffing needs. If we need 11 staff members across the district, times first year teachers.
Okay.
So what I'm getting at is it's a huge process. It's not as simple as
Right,
let's
I've
just roll it
spoken
out.
to
Yeah.
some of the other people that live in this town, and they've been asking about this for decades. So when you say this movement, how's that going? Because it doesn't seem like it is. And it seems like we've been asking for this for years, and it's not happening. So maybe I am the first person to ask this. I doubt I am.
Nope.
And I've heard that for years and years this has been asked for. And I told someone that I was coming to ask this question today, and they say,
Thank
yeah,
you.
good luck with that.
Thank you, your time is up.
Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Yep, and can I say one quick thing?
Sure.
We did put it out for a vote, I don't want to, maybe 7, 8 years ago? I don't remember how many years it was. 12 years ago? It was years ago. It was a couple superintendents ago. It went out as a second question. It was voted down. So there was some effort historically to move this forward. And then just other,
Is that a vote to raise taxes to enable the
Pay for it.
kindergarten?
To pick up the staffing costs, because it's an
Okay.
additional cost for staffing and
Okay.
outfitting classrooms and things like that. So there have been attempts, but like I said, we're developing currently, right now, in the next 6 to 8 weeks, our strategic action plan, which leads us out the next 5 years. Embedded in that will be a plan to get us to a position where if we need to do a referenda, if we need to look for funds or do construction projects, we'll have the plans and the blueprint in place, and then we can make a decision as a community whether we do that or not.
Okay.
George Gunkelman, 5 Kelly Court, Monroe. A couple of things I'd like to know how to get access to. One would be the most recent demography report. The assistant superintendent just stated that you're trying to put this together as part of this strategic plan, but a demography report doesn't happen even in that period. Typically, it takes longer. But I'd like to know how I can get access to the most recent, whatever it is, however old it is. Also, I'd like to know how I can get access to this 20-page report that you gave to the legislators. Just, some of us have chances from time to time to interact with these people. I'd like to know what's in that. And those two things I'd like to get access to. So if someone could tell me how, where, and when I can do that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
So the documents that we shared with the legislators, weren't they uploaded to board docs, Ms. Ratner, or were they executive attachments?
I believe they were all uploaded as public content. I wasn't sure about the project list, but the rest of them
So those are
were.
all online under board docs where you would access our agenda, all of the information that we shared with the legislators. The demographers report?
Mr. Gunkelman, I'll touch base with Mr. Tague. He has the most recent one, and I can tell you we are on the last year of the most recent one, which is why I spoke to, every 5 years we redo it. We have to redo our long-range facilities plan. So as a part of that, the requirement is to have an updated demographers report. So that will be taking place this fall, is our expectation. So we will have fresh numbers, fresh data, I would expect right around the winter holiday season.
And if I may,
Yep.
that's also budgeted for, so we knew that we would need a demographer's report, looking at also kindergarten for the future, for the near future, we were hopeful, but the demographer's report, so that is in the proper budget, so that we can go ahead and spend that money to hire a demographer.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close the public forum. The next item, you can only speak once. You'd have to wait for the next public forum to come back up.
Okay, I have safety, it's important.
You have to wait. You're only allowed to speak once during each forum, and you have to wait until the next one to come back up.
I only get 4 minutes.
Yes, correct.
You get an extra
There is
4.
another public forum. There's another public forum
Later.
as soon as we
Okay.
get through our board business. Dr. Lehman?
Sure. So my assistant soup report was a lot of the highlights that were in the curriculum report. So I just wanted to say that our ESY program is well attended and going strong. We heard an update from Mr. Arcaro in our special ed department at the curriculum committee meeting. Our summer enrichment program is another one that's extremely well attended. We are wrapping up opportunities every week. We're starting new ones each week as well. They tend to be either 1 week, 2 week modules. But I also wanted to highlight, and I'm going to pull it up right now, 2 donations that are on the board agenda. So one of them is the Country View Farms Nursery. They contributed a sponsorship towards our Monroe Township summer programming. They also have a contribution that will assist us in our staff recognition at the end of the school year, so thank you to them. And I also wanted to highlight, as we spoke about in curriculum, the Monroe Ed Foundation. They're sponsoring a SAT prep program. It's something we've had on our radar, and we'll do a pilot. Their pilot is allowing 2 sessions of 20 students to engage in this SAT prep program for the August SATs, with our intention as a district to potentially expand this as another opportunity, as we're hosting in October an SAT session, and then we can also sync SAT prep programs to other SAT dates. And one thing that's nice, and they spoke about it in the curriculum meeting, is all of our students in the district take the PSATs. So we're able to take PSA data, link it to anyone who enrolls in our SAT prep program, and really create a personalized learning environment for them. And that's something that, you know, an outside opportunity is not going to have access to. And we will engage our staff, and they will prepare basically a one-on-one personalized opportunity based on their PSAT scores. So thank you to both of those sponsors, and there's another sponsor in there as well that contributed, and it looks like, I think it's a pre-purchase for one of our advertisements for some of the plays coming up this school year. So thank you to all of our donors and sponsors.
Thank you. Dr. Chanley?
So once again, good evening, everyone. The last time we met was prior to graduation. I want to thank one of our community members that came up to discuss graduation. Graduation was at the Cure Arena, and although we were hopeful to bring it back home to Middlesex County, it was great. The kids were fantastic. Everybody looked fabulous. Many of our board members were there in attendance, which is wonderful. It really is a community event, and it was very, very exciting, and it was very hot, but we had good weather. So I did want to acknowledge that, because we have not seen one another since that time and since graduation. So that was wonderful. Additionally, as I had stated, I did go to a conference on AI. It was definitely worth my time. Very excited that we are going to hit the ground running, because we need to look at this as a positive. Although we sometimes get concerned with technology and what it brings forth, it's here, it's not going anywhere. So we have to make sure that we could utilize it to our advantage so that our children are successful with it. And we have to make sure that we constantly bring home the concept of ethics, making good choices, and, you know, being responsible when you have information that's not yours. So we know that's very important. Let me see, anything else? I did have an opportunity. I try and speak at least once a month with our Jamesburg superintendent, Dr. Villani. Her and I did speak within the last couple of weeks. They have a new supervisor, I believe, in their district, and what we're going to do is continue to work collaboratively. We will be having a meeting that we started, I think, the year before last, where our supervisors, Dr. Lehman, Mr. Meralda, as well as their supervisors, and the superintendent comes, and we talk about curriculum, we talk about instruction, we talk about classes. We feel it's very important that we truly work as a community with Jamesburg. They are ours. They become Falcons in the 9th grade. They're ours. We are going to continue to do the annual activities where they are included in the 8th grade for activities, but I did want to make note that this relationship has really just grown, and it's really become now where it's monthly, and it's important, because those Jamesburg students are our students when they graduate Monroe, and they become our Falcons.
Just saying thank you from Jamesburg as a district and as a whole. So just saying thank you from the district, because we really do appreciate being included in that community type atmosphere.
Oh,
So
it's our pleasure. On that note, we only have 3 retirements. I want to make sure 3, that's correct. So as you will see on the board agenda, and as it was mentioned, and we're working diligently in posting the position, Ms. Kathy McDonald has been, I believe, in service to New Jersey for more than 30-plus years. She has provided service to us for the last 7 years. She is retiring. We wish her well. Mr. Albert Pulcinelli, as our network operations manager, has been with us for 30 years. I believe he started his career at the high school, and I believe he was a tech teacher, if I'm not mistaken. And I had the pleasure of working with him for many years here in this building. And Ms. Sylvia Gonzalez, who started as a substitute and went back to school and got her degree. She was a substitute teacher when I was the principal, and I hired her, and she's provided 7 years of her dedication to the Monroe students. So I always, I know I'm very corny, but I always say that we wish all Falcons a wonderful flight on the newest endeavor and the newest adventure as they start in retirement, which I would imagine most of us look forward to in a very positive way. And I truly wish them well on their future endeavors. On that note, under personnel, 10-member vote, it is recommended the board approve the attached personnel items A through AJ.
Motion.
Second?
Ms. Allen, can we have a roll call? Oh, sorry, question. Sorry, Ms. Ratner.
Just
Oh, sorry.
one question.
Mr.
What
Zeichner.
is a unified liaison?
So we are very proud of our unified programs here. Our unified programs are programs where we allow for communication and integration between our children in our special education program and our children in our regular education program, and we have an individual who oversees that as a liaison between the programs.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
And I will second.
Ms. Ratner.
Yes, I wanted to ask the board action with the resignations that are effective.
Board
The
action or
no, the
personnel?
the resignations.
It says it is the resignations. It's under board action, but it is personnel. I don't know why. It is the 10-member personnel. It's like letters E and F specifically, but it's not the individuals. I just wanted to ask if that is effective that date or sooner if allowed, just because otherwise our students are starting school with a teacher that is then leaving a couple of weeks later. So I just wanted to ask.
So how it works is whenever possible, if someone provides the resignation, I, myself, or Dr. Lehman will speak directly with the principal of the building and say, are we able to release this person prior to the 60 days? Certificated individual, regardless of whether they're tenured, that is a misnomer that everybody thinks. It's not about the tenure status, it's about certificated. And I'm glad he's shaking his head yes. The certificated individual owes us, for lack of a better term, 60 days. It is possible that we were not able to yet replace them, and we want to make sure that we can. So I am diligently interviewing on a regular basis, all day, every day. So if we can release them so it's better for the children, absolutely they'll be released. But as of right now, that is the date of their resignation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Allen, can we have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes?
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Under personnel for a 9-member vote, it is recommended the board approve the attached personnel items AK through CQ.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Ms. DePayne?
Yeah, on page 19, BE, is that contractual, where they get paid, the staff gets paid to pack and unpack their classrooms?
Yes, it's in the contract.
Okay, just wanted to check. I figured it was. Thank you.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes. So just one quick question regarding letter BF. So I know that we had discussed that the middle school, because of the decrease in student enrollment, is going down a team for the 6th and 7th grade. I noticed that the 8th grade only has 5 teams listed as well. Are we going down a team in the 8th grade, or has there just not been a team leader assigned for a 6th team? I just noticed this. I would have asked
I'm trying to remember
earlier,
what
I'm
team is
sorry.
not here. So we have Spectrum, Innovation Centers, Vision, Icon. I'm trying to think of who the 6th team is off the top of my head. Well, the answer is, if there are 6 teams that started the school year, there are 6 teams.
Okay.
So the answer is perhaps it was an oversight, or he didn't select one yet, because
So
that's
there's
selected by
still
the
6
principal.
teams for the 8th grade and then 5 teams for 7th and 6th.
Yes.
Right.
I haven't seen
We're not going down a team in 8th grade.
this
So,
year. No.
For a
I'm
reason,
trying to remember
whether
who it
he
is.
hasn't identified it or most likely he hasn't identified that leader yet.
And I'm sad to say that I'm truly no longer the principal there, because I always accidentally used to say that, and I can't remember who the 6th team is. It's escaping me, but I'll remember it as we're going along.
Mr. Pirro?
I have a question about CI, the truancy part. So we used to have a truant officer for the whole district, but now I see it's broken down to secretaries for the school. So if a child is truant, are these secretaries going out and making house visits and everything else, just like the previous truant officer did?
So we made this change, this will be the 3rd year. And the way it works is, we still have our director of security oversee and work directly with, whether it be the secretary or the counselors. The reason why the truancy has changed is the children that we have are really school avoidance, and it's best sometimes when you have someone who has an intimate knowledge, whether it be a counselor or the principal secretary, and has an understanding what the issues are. Can they go out to the house? Yes, they can. If they have asked, if they so choose, to have the director of security accompany them. Most of the cases are where they get the parents to come in and they work with the parents for a plan of action to get the child back in school. We have been very pleased with the change that we made, and it's been working very nicely, and this will be the 3rd year of approval. I constantly speak with the director of security who works directly with those individuals. So although they actually do the work as far as making the plan of action, reaching out, making the phone calls, and if necessary doing that, they do not work in isolation. They work directly with their principal as well as with the director of security.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Odyssey, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Allen, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes?
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes, recuse, abstain on letter BH, numbers 13 and 14 for Mr. Ratner.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
It is recommended by the Assistant Superintendent of Schools that the board approve the following certificated staff at the following step-on guide. This is letter CR, under the same section, 9-member personnel vote.
Motion?
Second?
Any questions? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes?
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
For board action, 10-member vote. It is recommended the board approve the attached board action items A through P.
Motion?
Second.
Any questions?
Second.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes, just one quick question. The professional development, it's the very last one, educational resources, virtual therapies in the school conference 10 series. I noticed that is also on our 9-member vote as well. Are those the same sessions, and just because it's in all grade levels? Okay, just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
In the future, we could probably just keep it on the 10-member vote because it's inclusive, but in this case, it's on both.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes?
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under board action, 9-member vote is recommended the board approve the attached board action items Q through X.
Motion?
Second.
Are there any questions? Okay, can we have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes?
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. The next item on our agenda is our business administrator's report.
Okay. It's recommended that board action items A through Y be approved by consent roll call under a 10-member vote.
Motion?
Second.
Are there any questions? Ms. Ratner?
Yes, I had one question. I also just did want to commend the administration for the $5,000 grant towards the Unified program that's listed in letter N, and there's also a $1,000 grant towards Unified in the 9-member, so I'll just lump that together. My question is just regarding the transportation bid. I just wanted to understand a little bit more about how this works, just because I know we sometimes utilize our in-house buses for field trips. This is an outside vendor if it's not within the school day, or is it?
If it's necessary. If we can't provide the transportation in district, we will use this contractor for field trips and athletic trips.
And is this for school buses exclusively, or is it for coach buses if it were to come up? Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions?
I have
Mr.
a question.
Tufano?
Yeah.
Why, on number 8, why are we reinstating the contract of a service that we didn't renew before for certain reasons? Number 8.
Is this for the auditor?
Yeah.
Oh, the auditor. So we are, I'm sorry, what? I don't understand.
The question is, we didn't reinstate this auditor's contract before,
Right.
and we went with a different firm. Why are we going back to this firm that we didn't hire originally?
This firm has provided us a service for many years, and we were very satisfied with this firm.
Well, the board voted to not renew their contract previously. There had to be reasons why. Was that discussed at all?
I don't know why that was, but I
Okay, so
do know
this,
that.
I would like to make a motion that we table this number 8 until the board can discuss it.
I mean, this was
This was
discussed in
presented at
finance.
Finance.
And this is also time sensitive, correct?
It
This
is
needs
time
to, we have to have this, we have to have an auditor in place so that the process can begin.
Well, it seems to me like she didn't even know that we didn't reinstate this auditor before, and
No, I know that we didn't, the board voted for a different auditor, I think maybe 4 years ago. I have worked with this auditor, and I have found their firm to be very thorough and efficient, and, a good firm to work with.
Was there also a cost
There was a
savings with this firm?
Cost savings, yeah.
Point of
So,
order?
Hold on, we
There's
have a
there's a
motion on the
motion.
table.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that seconds Mr. Tufano's motion to,
Well, actually, there's a currently pending motion for which questions and discussion are ongoing. So to the extent that whoever made the motion wants to withdraw the motion to allow for Mr. Tufano's motion to table to be considered, that would be appropriate to do. Again, if the person who made the motion would like to withdraw or rescind the motion. Otherwise, there is currently a pending motion on the floor.
there's a motion on the floor to vote on these items, so if the person who made that motion wants to
I'll second it.
rescind, hold on,
To,
I think they were both, it was already,
Who made the motion?
And I think I seconded it, so.
yeah, so
Okay,
the
I
motion's already
rescind the
made.
motion to vote on the items.
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion has been rescinded. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve everything with the exception of the one item that is in question? Because we can do it that way.
I'll
We
make
want to approve all the items.
With the, or
Well,
with the
no,
exception
so
of the audit.
we're making a motion to approve everything except for the one that we would be discussing on the possible tabling.
And
So
some- yes.
I'll make that motion to vote.
To approve
accept-
all items with the
To
exception of
approve
the
all
audit.
items, exception of number 8
Eight.
for further discussion.
When's the further discussion?
Second.
Now?
Yeah.
So questions, discussion on the motion that's currently pending that does not include the appointment of the auditor.
So just a point of clarification, it's everything else under the 10-member business administrators report except for number 8 that we are now being asked to vote on or ask questions about.
Correct, that was the motion that was made,
And it was
are there
seconded.
any
and it was
questions?
seconded.
Any questions? Okay, so can we have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes to all, recuse on items related to the learning tree under letter B.
Okay. Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes to all, recuse on board action, letter A, number 2, and then recuse on the bill list for, I have to ask if I can do what Ms. Alvarez says, because I like that better, but check 64368 for Mr. Ratner, check 64367 and 64396 for Mr. Snyder, and then check 64204 for Mr. Rubin.
Ms. Sharma? Yes. Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes, recuse on A2.
A2. Okay. Motion passes.
So at this point, everything passed with the exception of A, I'm sorry, 8, which was removed. Does the board want to motion to table that or do something else with that?
Can we make a motion to discuss the item?
You can
we
discuss
discuss
it
it?
without a motion,
Yes.
if you'd like.
So let's,
Okay.
I think we should discuss
So
that.
I just wanted to ask the finance chair, because I know she's not here, she reviewed this as well. Was she in favor of moving forward, Ms.
Yes.
Bora?
Yes.
Yes, she wasn't, it was in her report.
I wanted to make sure that all the new members had the information that the old board had with, with regards to this firm. I don't know if you were all privy to that information, and you should be in order to make the decision to rehire a firm that the old board, and when I say old board, I mean 3 years ago, 4 years ago, decided not to rehire this firm, and I don't know if all that information was given to the new board members.
Do you know why they weren't
I don't
hired?
remember the specifics, because like I said, it was 4 years ago, and I think that the new board should have that information before they decide to rehire this firm.
Oh.
I just think in the best interest of the district, all the information or reasoning why they weren't reaffirmed the first time should be given to you. That's just my only concern.
Can I
When
make
you
a
say
comment?
time sensitive, when did we have to make this decision?
Well, the audit is due December, so it does have to be, it's a process. And the auditor, whoever audits us, has to be able to fit us into their schedule and plan.
So we can't, you're saying we can't table this till next month?
It
would have to be voted
really
on.
not be a good idea.
When is your next board meeting?
Could I make a comment?
Go ahead, Mr.
In the
Mr.
finance
Miller.
department, we talked about this, we agreed to it. Ms. Allen said she had worked with this auditing group in the past. We don't know of any problems with this group that anybody could tell us right now, so I feel comfortable saying that if it's somebody that she's familiar with and that we used and we didn't have an issue with them, I don't understand why we would hold this process up. I think that we should move forward, and I'd like to make a motion that we put number 8 back on.
I think, Ms. Allen, you did not have an issue working with this
I did
firm,
not
or you
have an
wouldn't have
issue.
recommended them, I would
Correct.
think.
Can I just do a point of procedure? If we were to vote on this, and then we were, perhaps asking Ms. Allen to see if there was a reason for this switch, is it a possibility that we could rescind this next month if there was a reason for that?
I mean, so the board could rescind, or try to rescind a contract. I don't know what the contract says. I wouldn't recommend that the board do that. And the other thing is, Mr. Pirro made a motion, so we do have a motion now on the floor.
To vote, remember.
It has not been seconded yet, but I would strongly recommend that they not do that, Ms. Ratner. It's just not a good practice.
I will second his motion.
Okay, so now we vote.
Yes.
Questions, discussion on the motion?
Questions, discussion on the motion to vote on item A8.
What happened to my motion?
So, Mr. Tufano, your motion to table was not made because there was a motion on the floor at the time. At the time, the board voted on all items except for the one that you had an issue with. And that was then held back for discussion. During the discussion, Mr. Pirro just made a motion to now put that back on. So there's been a motion.
So now I have to remake my motion to say that before this board makes an informed decision on what auditor we hire, we should get all the information of why he was not hired the last time.
Yes, so the only issue with that, Mr. Tafaro, is that there's currently a pending motion. So if Mr. Pirro wants to rescind his motion.
No, he ain't gonna do
he
that,
can.
so let's just continue.
Thank you.
So Ms. Allen, can we have a roll call to vote on item A8?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
No.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes. It is recommended that board action items Z through AB be approved by consent roll call under a 9-member vote.
Motion?
Second.
Are there any questions?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Allen, can we have a
Yes.
roll call, please?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is our board president's report. So I hope that everybody is enjoying their summer. Since our last meeting, I really had a hard time thinking about how long ago our last meeting was. But since our last meeting, we held our middle school and high school graduations. They were both wonderful events celebrating our students and marking the end of their middle and high school careers. We continue to wish our graduates nothing but success and look forward to seeing all they will accomplish. Our extended school year and summer programs have been in full swing. Our students are enjoying a multitude of activities and classes. Thank you to all of our wonderful teaching staff and administration for making these programs possible. Last week was an exciting week for our school district, as Ms. Ratner mentioned, as we were finally able to hold a meeting with our legislators. I want to once again thank Ms. Ratner for extending the invitation to Senator Greenstein, Assemblyman D'Angelo, and Assemblywoman McCoy, and for organizing a meeting that allowed us to express our concerns for Monroe while also learning that we would receive an additional $300,000 for capital improvements. The meeting was well received and I believe a large stepping stone that will allow us to maintain an open dialogue with our legislators. It's hard to believe that I call this the Sunday of summer, otherwise known as August, starts tomorrow. So I hope that everybody continues to enjoy this time with their family and your friends, and we will see you all again soon. The next item on our agenda is other board business. Are there any board members wishing to make any comments? Ms. Ratner?
I mean, I feel like I have to say something or it's not a board meeting. But no, I did just want to once again extend our appreciation for everyone who works over the summer. You know, it's not a time where, you know, it's usually the vacation for a lot of the staff members. So anyone who's putting in that extra time, you know, it's greatly appreciated. And then I also did just want to share that there were, I meant to pull up the list, but there were a few things from the committee meeting that had been discussed as things to look for to provide. One of them was the cost, like breakdown of costs of full-day kindergarten specifically. And, you know, I know like we had discussed in the meeting, there are certain things that each of the classrooms needs or things like that. So I also know that Ms. Allen had provided the list of our current enrollment, and there is a significant decrease in the younger grades as opposed to the middle school and high school level. So if we can see if that's something that maybe the cost has been reduced with the decrease of students at that level, I'd be interested in finding that out. Also, the other things that just had been mentioned that, you know, some of these are under my committee, but just to share from what came was the difference in the legislation between 2548 and 2837, just the follow up with them for the different grant restrictions, and then just sharing the differences in preschool aid in the last 5 years, some of the surrounding districts, and what makes us ineligible and if there's any way to modify that. The impact fee follow up to share how that can possibly be changed. I know we've discussed the resolution, but making our legislators aware as well. Those were just some of the things that had come up at the meeting. So just for future discussion, and I can send this as well, but I had started writing it down, so I did just want to share that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Pirro?
I'd just like to make a comment. There's been a lot of rumors spread in the community by some previous board members stating that this board intends on cutting programs and teachers. I'd just like to make it clear to the public that we have no intention of cutting any teachers or programs. The previous board went through a $12 million reserve in 3 years. If needed, there's plenty of non-educational areas that we would cut from first. But I want to assure the parents that we have no intention of cutting teaching staff and programs. That's it. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, the next item on our agenda is the public forum. Any members of the public wishing to speak, you can come up to the microphone. Just state your name and municipality for the record.
My name is Dominic Torito. My children go to Monroe schools. My first question, since your last meeting, the State Assembly has passed the Freedom to Read Act. Are you abreast of this act? No. All right. Well, then I'll give you till the next meeting to look it up, and I'd like to know if you're in support of it or not. And my next question is, my daughter went to a classification for kindergarten at Mill Lake School, and she walked right in the door. There was no security, there was no police officer, and it wasn't just my daughter and her mother and the person classifying her. There was a camp or some kind of event going on, and she was there for a half an hour. She walked in, the door was open, there was no police officer, there was no security. She was there for about 30 minutes, and she left not seeing that either. Who is the onus on for lack of security at a school event? Because I think it's unacceptable.
I agree,
Yeah.
but in order for me to look into this, I'm writing down Mill Lake, but my question is, when you say a school event, what was the school event?
There was like a camp or something going on. There was dozens of children in
Okay.
the gymnasium.
So if the camp, and I'll be happy to look into
Yeah.
it, because the onus, the buck stops with me always.
Right.
However, if the camp is a recreational camp, and it's not our camp, the way it works with security in the buildings,
My child wasn't attending the camp. My child was attending the classification.
Okay, so-
which, regardless, is a school event. There were other, I don't know.
It might have been map testing
It could
for the
have been-
kindergarten.
Oh, your child was there for a kindergarten screening?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so,
I mean, there's children in the building, there's staff in the building, and the door's just really wide open.
So
I
it's
mean,
a very easy problem in the
Yeah.
regard that I'm going to go ahead and reach out. When I
Okay.
leave here, I'll just text the Director of
Okay,
Security
good.
and
All
find
right.
out the particulars
Because
of how we work it and how we
Yeah.
have the security. Because I will let you know that unless certain activities are going on, it depends and who they are over.
Right.
We do not have our security guards present during the day. I just went to the middle school today. There is no security guard at the
right,
front door.
as it is summer and there's no
Yes.
one in the
But
schools. But
that
this
being
is-
said,
this
it
is
should be locked.
It is an exception.
It should be locked. She should have had to have rang the bell, and if there's no security,
Right.
we have a secretary that's 12 months, we have a principal. If we don't have a principal, we have a vice
Right.
principal. So you telling me it's not about blaming this time, it's about correcting it.
Yeah.
And I will
it's
correct it.
unacceptable. Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
And can you
Yeah.
just let me know, was it a particular day of the
It
week?
was last Monday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That just helps me get more
It was
information.
last Monday. And
Okay.
I said, maybe the guy wasn't at the door when you walked in. Either way, the door should not have been open.
Did she just walk, her mom was
Walked right in.
by herself?
With her mother. She's
Oh, I was going to say, okay, I'm just making sure,
Yeah.
okay. So the door was not locked, which is the first thing we have to worry about.
Yeah, and there was no one there to.
Thank you. And I'm glad you let us
If the door
know.
was open, there should have been someone standing on the other side of it saying.
No, the door should be locked, period.
Yeah.
So-
And the Freedom to Read Act.
Yes.
Is this board in favor of policy 5657 that passed last year?
5756?
Yes.
The transgender
Yes.
policy?
Okay.
Is this,
That is not a conversation that's had.
no?
No. I said at this time, that is not a conversation that has been brought to policy.
Okay.
I'm not speaking for who's in favor, who's not in
Okay,
favor.
'cause it was-
I'm
it was-
saying that is not a conversation that has occurred with this Board of Education and policy.
Okay, because the Freedom to Read Act is in the same vein. And I'm just curious as to, I guess I'll wait till the next meeting, or if someone wants to reach out to me in between, I think it's very important. They're out of session, right now, but in the fall, chances are they'll vote on it. It won in the State Assembly by an overwhelming margin, and I would assume that the Senate would do the same when they resume session. This had come since your last meeting, so I haven't, obviously you would not have discussed it at the last one, but if we can't discuss it now, is there a way I can discuss it with someone, or we can discuss, can it be put on the agenda for the next meeting? I find it to be very important.
You can reach out to my office.
Okay.
So I'm the assistant superintendent,
Okay.
Dr. Lehman.
All right.
And part of what happens when things get passed in the legislature,
Right.
as you know, they got to get voted, and then what
Yeah,
happens
no,
once they
I know
once
it
they
could
go.
be years, but it could be in the fall.
Correct. And also, when things get voted in, the Department of Ed then takes the laws or the statutes and interprets them. We have our professional organizations that do that. We work with our attorneys. So something that's hot off the press right now, we'll have like a helicopter view on it. Are we formulating strong opinions on it?
Well, it was
Not at this
introduced
point.
in January,
Thank-
and it
Right.
passed, it
Thank you,
actually was
sir.
voted on. Yeah.
Thank you, your time
Yep.
is up.
So reach out to me. We can have a conversation about what it looks like now, and then as it passes through, if it passes, and our professional organizations and our attorneys and things get involved, then it's about how it gets applied to a district. And
Okay.
we're not even close to that yet
Right.
in terms of
Right.
anything that's in the legislature. So I certainly am willing to listen and engage with you on the phone. And then as this plays out and how it evolves and impacts the district is to be determined.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Guys, I'll have to sit down, then I want to make a statement.
Sure.
Because I want to follow the rules. No, you have to sit down because your 4 minutes are up, but I'll be happy to say something about the doors being open. I just want to be appropriate for President Fabiano because we're just trying to follow the rules for everybody. I just want to let you know that our Director of Security is watching the meeting, and he said that he is aware of this, he was aware of this situation, and that yes, and he said he spoke directly with the principal, and he will be calling the principal again tomorrow, and he's not sure why the rec was not there because it was through the rec, but we take responsibility, so I'm glad you spoke, and I'm glad he followed up. It's good that he's watching because we're all part of the same, organization to make sure that but thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak?
Good evening again, Michelle Arminio, 9 Nathaniel Street. In terms of the auditor, if I can share some history, one of the reasons why that particular auditor was not asked to come back was primarily because there was a long-term, many years that the auditor had been doing audits for Monroe. And the belief at the time, and I think it should be a belief maybe going forward, that one auditor should not be there for maybe longer than 5 years, just as a matter of good practice. I don't think there was anything wrong with the auditor, except that many people on the board, as the board turned over and things, thought that in terms of best practices, that one auditor should not be there for a very long time. And I think that auditor might have been around for like 12 years. And it was, and it is my firm belief as a citizen and for all government entities that one auditor should not be on a regular basis. And not to, this is not a disparaging remark. Again, it's I believe it's a factual remark, and I'd like to be corrected if I'm wrong, an apology up front. But I do believe that Ms. Allen had previously worked for that auditor before you didn't? Did you ever work for that auditor? That was the rumor back then. So no, that you didn't come from, you weren't hired from that auditing firm? No. Okay, so I am corrected and I am humbled by my mistakes, so I apologize. But really, it was primarily, there was nothing particularly wrong. It just that in terms of good government practice, we felt that auditors should not be on a long-term basis. And, because I'm always about the open public meetings and the open public records. Number 15, the closed session resolution if needed. Now, lately it hasn't been needed, so we're not going to the closed session. But my request as an advocate for this kind of stuff, if you know in advance that and I can't see why you wouldn't know in advance if you have to go into a second closed session, it really should be listed, the content should be listed on the agenda. Because some people may leave early And I was always, when I wasn't a board member, I always sat until sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning waiting for that closed session to be finished because action could be taken. So I would appeal to you, if you know that there is going to be a second forum, it should be put on the agenda. And one final thing about minutes. Please, whether closed session minutes or minutes of the board meeting, again, this is for the public. This is who you are working for, as well as the children and the staff, of course. But please keep the minutes even more comprehensible than they have been in the past. It was always something I fought for. Sometimes it went on deaf ears. But we need comprehensive minutes. So in other words, somebody who wants to go back a year from now and see what happened today, they should be fully able to understand what went on. So I again appeal to you. It's a little more work, but it is part of our transparency and our democracy. So thank you.
Thank you.
And have a good rest of the summer.
Mr. Weiss, so I want to ask you about the closed session resolution. So tonight we do have to go into a second closed session. Is that something that I can announce when we come out of closed session?
Yeah, well, let me just, and Ms. Arminio, I largely agree with everything that you've said. With that, I'll give an example of tonight. Tonight we had a closed session early.
Yes.
We didn't finish because there's a lot to go through. So we're going to have to, rather than make the audience wait to get this public session started, we came out and we're doing the public session, but we haven't finished our business earlier. So we are going to go back in, but the reasons for going back in tonight are the same reasons that were originally on. We just didn't get to finish what we intended to do earlier this evening. So there is going to be a second session tonight, but it's not going to be for any different reason other than the reasons that were already given because we haven't finished our first session.
But the resolution should be reread.
The resolution will be reread.
And will there be action taken?
There won't be action taken in closed session.
No, I know that.
To the extent that there's, and this is our first time meeting each other. I always.
You'll get to know me, I assure you.
If I'm lucky, I will. But we always, you need to make a motion to go into closed, and that's going to happen tonight. There will never be formal action, at least I should say, there's one or two times where there could be. Right. But there almost will never be action taken in private session. It should always, with the exception of one or two situations, should always occur out here in the open in the sunshine.
I would just, and I'm sorry, but I would just recommend that when you come out of closed session on the first session, and you know that you're going to have to go into second closed session, you should announce that when you come out.
Well,
that's a fair point.
That's what I had just asked, if we could do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public forum. The next item on the agenda is our closed session resolution, which we do need tonight. So let me go back. Whereas the Senator Byron M. Bear Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, provides that the Monroe Township Board of Education may hold an executive session from which the public is excluded to discuss matters that are confidential or are in one of the 9 subject matters listed in Section 12B of the Act. And whereas the board hereby declares that its discussion of the following subjects will be made public at a time when the public's interest in disclosure is greater than any privacy or governmental interest being protected from disclosure. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Monroe Township Board of Education that the board shall go into executive session to discuss the following items. Additional items may be determined and announced as needed. Matters concerning the protection of the safety or property of the public pending anticipated litigation and matters covered by attorney-client privilege. Matters involving employees and their terms of their employment and contract, possible imposition of a civil penalty or suspension, confidential personnel matters, and an MTEA grievance.
Motion?
Second. I wasn't done.
Sorry.
Be it further resolved that said discussion may be disclosed to the public when reasons for discussing and acting upon it in closed session no longer exist. Action may be taken on any of the items stated above.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? No. Do we have to take a roll call? We have to take a roll call. We haven't had a second closed session in a while. Or can we do all opposed, or should we get a roll call?
You can do a voice vote.
Are there,
How is it that you usually do it?
Well, we don't
All in
usually go
favor?
into second
All
closed
those
session,
in
so this is
favor?
the first time.
Okay, we can do it by voice, yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We should be in closed session for about an hour? An hour?
So no formal action will be taken in closed. If we take any, it will be out here after closed.
Okay, we are back from closed session. There is no action to be taken. There is a public forum for closed session items only. Anybody wishing to speak, you have 4 minutes. State your name and municipality for the record. Seeing none, the next scheduled Board of Education meeting is August 21st here in the Performing Arts Center. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Third. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, aye.
There wouldn't be any opposed.
There we go.